and there seems like there's only one place for us to start. You know where I'm taking you, don't you? I'm taking you on a walk with me, Dave, straight towards the Premier League title, which starts at Villa Park. An amazing result again, Dave. We've beaten Arsenal 1-0, who were top of the league going into the weekend, off the back of beating the treble winners of last year, Man City 1-0. Come on, talk to me. You tell me. How good are we, Dave?
How's it feel to beat two of the favourites for the title in the space of a week?
Well, we're now one of the favourites. That's how good it feels. 3.2 Opta are saying now. Do you remember a while ago we shared a little clip on our socials, Mike taking the mickey out of me with the 0.01% chance of Villa winning the league? Well, we're up to 3.2% now. We're cooking.
Nah, yeah, it's crazy. It's been a crazy week, really, for Villa fans. Crazy season, to be honest. Just the game itself. The two games that we've played, obviously, in the last week, there's been a contrast to the two. The swashbuckling performance in the City game to obviously this Arsenal game was very different in itself. I think my question here, I suppose, is what's different about Villa's approach to games this
Hmm.
season? I think, particularly in the big games, because it's the two games and the way they approach both games, each in their own particular way. It's just a breath of fresh air, I think, for Villa fans actually going into these games and feeling like they can win.
It's funny you say that actually because we started the season against Newcastle so poorly that you thought it might be a worry that big teams would find us out for our system. But as it's gone on, we've seen how well implemented our style of play is. And actually, we're now talking about the team that's averaging more points per game against the top half than any other team, that's an incredible stat for Villa. Now, granted, a lot of that comes from our amazing home record, and Villa Park plays a huge part in our success there. Emery mentioned it himself that I know it's a cliche that most managers use about the 12th man, but it really does feel like that. I've never seen Villa Park bounce in the way it is right now. And you can understand that when we've just made it 15 home wins in a row. But the structure of our team is just so excellent. I think a lot of people mistakenly will talk about this game like Arsenal completely dominated it and Villa were passengers but lucky. Whereas actually, the reality of it is Villa did what Villa do. They scored an early goal, which they love doing. If you look at it for this season, that's something Villa always try and capitalise on, taking the momentum out of a game. And then Unai Emery often has his reputation of being quite a defensive coach, and we've not really seen that of him at Aston Villa outright. But we saw it in this game because we were off the back of let's be honest, a draining performance against Man City, which was absolutely superb. But we weren't going to have a lot left in the tank for the weekend. And the plan was, right, we've got the lead. Now we can hold it. And I trust Villa to do that these days. It wasn't so much that they let Arsenal control the game, they just controlled how Arsenal played the game. It was fine to let them have the ball. They play this high line that stops Arsenal from getting anywhere near the goal at the majority of the time. I think people have mistakenly said that Arsenal were just peppering the Villa goal. It's actually the fewest amount of attempts on goal they've had in any game this season, this game. And because the midfield was so compact, and because McGinn, Louise, Kamara, Tielemans, even Dendonka when he came on, stopped the midfielders from getting the balls over the top to break that offside trap, it was just hard for Arsenal to create any genuine chances. And when they did have a couple of glimpses, well, you've got the world's best goalkeeper. So it was excellent. They really controlled the game. 9 of the players that started that game were there before Emery. So he's improving the squad, isn't he, Dave? It's not just about the tactical style. The individual performances are much better. And we've seen 2 potentially back-to-back man of the match performances from John McGinn as well. I wonder what your take on him is, because if we're saying that Villa are stopping teams from breaking them down because their midfield is just so tireless, John McGinn's a huge part of that, right?
Oh, definitely. And there's not really more of a big game player than him at the minute. I
Mm.
feel like he just he's stood up and he's counted for every occasion. This season it's going to be really difficult to say who's going to be your player of the season. That's for
Mm.
me is crazy in itself. You look at, I mean, his midfield partner in Douglas Luiz, who's been
Mm.
an absolute revelation as well. But what McGinn offers you is he's got an all-round package really, and you look at the way he took his goal, particularly in the Arsenal game. It's
Lovely.
just so clever
Mm.
how he turns and the finish is it's brilliant. And
Do you know he's now got 4 goals in the Prem this season? That's his most in a Premier League season already.
has it really?
Yeah, honestly, and
It's
he's not.
amazing.
He's not.
We've been holding that because we know how much of a threat he can be
Yeah,
in those areas.
he really struggled to score for Villa for a really long time. He was bagging goals for Scotland every international break, but Emery's instilled that confidence in him. Now, he lost a lot of confidence last season when he took the captain's armband, and now it feels fully justified for him to be leading that side out because he gives everything on the pitch. And in this game, he showed both sides of it. I think he got the goal early, like you say, and it was an excellent finish, really nice turn in the box. But then again, his work rate, despite the fact that he'd played the Man City game before as well, he was just willing to chase everything down. And what you want to do when you're pushing so high up the pitch is stop the other team from having too much time on the ball where they can start picking out their wide players. And Saka and Martinelli largely were quite restricted at times. Martinelli looked far more dangerous actually, and when Cash came on with Dendonka, that was clearly to nullify that effect. But generally speaking, McGinn and Kamara were there to break up Arsenal's midfield whenever it was on the ball to stop them feeding those forward players. I just thought he was excellent. There's another player that we've talked about before as well, Dave, that I just wanted to give a quick shout out to because he played in a new role over the last couple of games, and that's Ezri Konsa. I'm going to tell you something brilliant now, Dave, that I've been waiting to share with you because there's been a lot of Arsenal fans saying some very funny things about this game. So I just wanted a little bit of a kickback, if you'll allow me. Many people will say right now, best centre back in the Premier League, William Saliba. Agreed? Okay.
Yeah.
Here's something for you. Per 90 minutes now, Ezri Konsa compared to William Saliba has got a better percentage when it comes to take-ons and winning them, better percentage of winning aerial duels, ground duels, more tackles, clearances, interceptions, and blocks per 90. So every defensive stat that you would want to measure a player by, Ezri Konsa is outperforming William Saliba this season. And their passing accuracy, both of them are on 92.6%. So
How many, how many players are Villa going to have in the Premier League team of the season this year, Miles? This is my question.
all I want to know, Dave, is how long is it going to take me to get a good spot at the title parade to watch the bus go around Birmingham? No, in all seriousness, I am going to ask you one quick question because Villa fans are very, I think we're very optimistic about the season, but are still realistic about what our goals are. And I think a lot of us would look at it now and say, we should be getting top four. I fully believe that. I said at the start of the season, I thought we would get Champions League qualification. I stand by that now. There is a brief conversation of whether they could push even further. What's a realistic aim for Aston Villa this season there, Dave?
But I think Emery summed it up perfectly, and he said after the game is that it's still too early on in the season, and if they're round about in the conversation around sort of 30 games in, and there's the opportunity there, then why not? But I think the mentality that he has is perfectly, just, and I think that's the way they've got to look at it. Really, is focus on being consistent and improving on that away record because it's that's something that they really need to improve on. Look, Villa Park's an absolute fortress this season, and if they continue the way they are, you can't imagine them dropping many points. Not winning too many games, and I do feel as though top four is a realistic, aim for them. I think a title challenge is a little bit too much to ask, but what's worked out perfectly for them is a lot of players actually coming back in. I think it was great to see Jacob Ramsey coming back. I thought it
Yeah.
was happy to see him on the pitch, and the way that Emery is actually managing this squad is, it's exemplary. And the players that are coming onto the pitch now, Villa are in a position where they have, like you mentioned, Diaby coming on. These are players that are, amazing players. They're not just players
Oh,
bringing on to fill in or just to
yeah,
be. They could be starting in the starting 11
100%. No
every
doubt
week.
about it. Villa had the better bench at the weekend. If you'd offered me both benches at the start of the game, I'd have taken Villa's all day. This week's content is brought to you by Kiro and Kiwi Photography. This creative duo will help bring your business vision into life with their excellent photography skills. They are fast, reliable, and excellent to work with. You can see they recently did some photos with us as a podcast, and we were thrilled with the results. So, for any of your photography needs, please go to Kiro and Kiwi's photography page, and you can make inquiries on their website below.